Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, a podcast about leaving self-doubt in the dust, punching fear in the face, and taking bold action toward your biggest dreams. I'm Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. I have an exciting one today. This is my first time interviewing two people at the same time. So welcome to the show, Rob and Kennedy from Email Marketing Heroes.
Hello, the surprise is we're interviewing you. No, not really.
That actually would be funny if it turned the table on people one day and just didn't tell them.
What if we all interview each other in a circle?
Yeah.
I don't want to interview you, Rob. I can't be bothered with that. I know far too much about you.
Or I just sit here and watch you two interview each other. I think that would be hilarious too. So tell me a little bit more about Email Marketing Heroes.
Yeah, so we have a really bizarre story. I'm Rob, by the way. I've got the red hair of the two of us. Arthur Rob, Arthur Red. No more clues. Kennedy is the
funny and good-looking one.
Kennedy's the other one. We'll say that Kennedy's the other one. Rob, I'll be using this voice for the rest of the episode. That's how you'll know. I have been a hypnotist for the past 18 years now. I've been lucky enough to travel almost all over the world performing my show as a comedy hypnotist, getting people on stage, hypnotizing them, making them do crazy things, then sending them back to the audience. And Kennedy is a mind reader. Folks in the States would know that better as a mentalist. Gets people on stage, uses skills like psychology and body language and reading people and statistics to make it look a lot like he can read people's minds. And you might think, well, what's a hypnotist and a mind reader got to do meddling with email marketing? And basically what happened was when we started our first businesses as entertainers, I think a lot of people have this misconception that you just stick an ad in the yellow pages. Remember that? Stick an ad in the yellow pages and then just wait for the phone to ring. And that's not true. We realized, for me, straight out of school, for Kennedy, just out of university, when we started our separate businesses as entertainers, we were just two pals, both wanting to be entertainers. We realized we now had to figure out branding, pricing, positioning, marketing. How do you do your accounts? What's insurance? What insurance do you need? How does it all work? How do you not get ripped off? And so very quickly, we fell upon email marketing as a method of getting booked for gigs, getting repeat books, and then getting referrals to other clients as well. And what happened was very quickly, and I can't really say it was anything other than just dedication, the fact we started early. Emails changed a lot in the last 18 years. And so when you look at it back then, not everybody was on a million lists, but just through doing it a lot and becoming obsessed with it, we found that we were two things that most entertainers and most business owners think you can't be. We were expensive and busy. And most people think you're either expensive with no work or you're busy, but you're really cheap. And we sort of got that right. So other entertainers very quickly started saying to us, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And we started coaching them. So different types of entertainers. And then that led to about 5 years ago, we finished up being asked to go and speak at a marketing event in the UK about email marketing for loads of business owners. And these were people who were making and selling jewelry through to accountants and everything in between, and big B2B, big B2C, everything, and little businesses too. And we had a blast. And so since then, we've started a membership for those people, and we've helped thousands of businesses of every type all over the world now to just sell more stuff with email marketing that doesn't make you want to be sick in your mouth. So if you're about to switch off thinking, well, I'm not a hypnotist or a mentalist, this won't work for me, sit back down.
Yeah, I love that. You've been told, sit back down. Unless you're walking and listening at the same time, in which case, keep walking.
That would be so funny if someone halfway around a marathon and they're just sat on the floor now going.
I've heard podcasts are a great way to get you through a marathon.
Yeah.
Especially this, imagine.
That's awesome.
We should do mile markers, shouldn't we, all the way through? 1 mile to go.
Yeah. And if you haven't hit it, you're not moving fast enough. Pick up the pace. No, I am the last person that is ever going to judge anybody on running because I'm sitting on my butt most of the day. So it's interesting because one thing that you mentioned really stuck out in my mind, Rob, and I wrote it down. It was hope marketing. And I think that's what a lot of newer business owners get into. It's all right, well, I put my website up, I got my business cards, and now we just wait for the money to roll in. And it was that was the first bitch slap that life served me as an entrepreneur.
It's tricky because I think we live in a world now where it just takes so much longer to build trust with somebody. How many different scam Instagram profiles have followed you this week? You know, I was like, oh, it's that really famous person. No, it's not that really famous person. They're just trying to sell you Forex trading, you know. So I think what we have to do is realize that marketing needs a bit more than just, hey, you've seen my website. Because how many websites have you even forgotten about this week? Loads of them. And it's so easy to get forgotten about because we're all scrolling through everything so quickly. We need to do something for people who are trying to solve the problem that we all solve, you know, your problem that you solve for other people. We need to do something to show up. We need to do something to nurture that relationship, deepen their understanding, earn their trust, not just build the trust, earn it, like for real, with value, with help, being actually helpful. For the people who do buy, that's great. And for the X% of people who don't buy, that's fine. You help people. That's cool.
Yeah. You know, like it drives me nuts that there is this big trend, right? We're all skeptical of LinkedIn ads these days, I think. Somebody adds me
LinkedIn from start to end, to be honest, but yes.
Like they add me and I am skeptical right away because they're promising me the sun, moon, and stars. They can grow my business. They work with coaches just like me. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that you're just searching for coaches and you don't actually know my name.
Absolutely.
It's like value is so easy to provide, but most people won't do it because they're taking that spray and pray approach that it's a numbers game. So I'm just going to reach out to as many people as possible and somebody's going to say yes.
Great example of this. Literally just yesterday, I got a guy slid into my Facebook DMs and it went in the filtered messages thing as we're not friends on Facebook. And it said, hey, I saw that you were in X group that we're both in. The last time I was active in that group was probably 3 years ago. Like, and he said, you know, I've been talking to at least 13 other people in that group and they were really struggling with their email marketing. So now they've hired me. I write their emails for them and they're getting open rates of this and sales of this. Would you like me to help you with your email marketing? I was like, I mean, you couldn't find a more ironic example of somebody who's failed to do any research on the person they're reaching out to.
And that's something that they could have figured out with 30 seconds of research. Because in the groups function, you can just click on somebody's name and see their activity in the group. Yeah. So there's one, you know, strike one. Strike two, if they had actually just looked you up and saw that your business is called Email Marketing Heroes, and they're offering to help you with your email. Like, mine isn't as obvious, but I am a copy chief for an email marketing agency. And so I know that people haven't really done their research when they tell me that they can help me improve my emails. I'm like, actually, I help the writers on my team improve their emails. So like, you might bring me fresh ideas that I'll be impressed by, but it's probably going to be pretty hard to improve my emails.
Yeah, and obviously we're all open to learning. Like, do we know everything about email marketing?
Yeah.
No, but do we obsess about it and think about it and talk to more people than most about it? Yes, of course we do, which means we know more than some, and we're always willing to learn. But for me, like somebody who's DMing you cold, I'm like, oh, yeah, if that's your client attraction method, I'm not down. I actually don't think you've got a business, personally.
Mm-hmm. The only people that have ever caught my attention that way were people that took the extra time, like you mentioned. I had somebody right after I was on a panel discussion at some presentation reach out to me, offer to connect in a couple different places. And then she sent me a PDF that she had made of the quotable quotes that she thought I had from the, and I was like, yes, I want to be your friend. Please give me that document. Yes.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, if you want to go that far, like that's amazing. If if the person is influential enough for you, then going that far is amazing. I don't think we've ever done anything.
No, but again, I mean, it comes back to the thing you said before, Kennedy, about this idea of, trust is built and it's earned and it's stuff. And like, if you put in the work, like I remember I was talking about that about something, and he said about something like, somebody could break into your house and do this and steal the thing. And I was like, Dad, if they do that much work, they can have the telly. Like, as far as I'm concerned, they haven't stolen it. They've earned it at that point. So like, and I think, to a certain extent, if you do that much work in order to get somebody's attention and like give them something impressive, you've earned their trust. And that's what we're looking for.
Absolutely. And I think, it's really funny that, especially in this day and age with so much information flowing around, that there is this tendency to think that you can actually shortcut that process. Like, if I just build the right funnel and if I just have the right lead magnet, I'm just going to like go straight to their trust folder and they're going to know that I'm legit. It surprises a lot of because I work with a lot of copywriters. So it surprises a lot of the new ones that I'm like, my favorite way of getting clients is being at the bar at an event and just talking to people. And we talk about everything but copy and email marketing strategy. We actually like each other.
And do you know what you talk about? You say that, and it's really interesting because that totally aligns with the way we teach. One of our strategies in email marketing is that if you're showing up, whatever kind of email marketing you're doing right now, whether it's a lot or none, whatever, here's a little thing that will help you make it easier and also make it better. If you only show up at that bar, imagine like your email inbox, like the bar. If you just show up and talk about I'm a whatever it is you do every single time in that email, then you're boring. Guess what? You're that boring person who only talks about themselves, who talks about, I think, the people you laugh about, you go, oh, I think they might do a bit of email marketing because all they talk about is email, is that thing. Whereas if instead you show up in people's inbox and you talk about stuff that is relatable, that they care about, that's about their world, the stuff they can identify with, and then you relate it to your product or service, now you're actually using email the way it should be used today, which we strongly believe that email is no longer the sales channel that it was for ages. Mm-hmm. It's a content channel. Email is a content channel. It should be giving value. It's another app that's on people's phones, snuggled in between Tinder and TikTok, that people are clicking on and consuming on their phones, right? So you wouldn't just go onto your TikTok or to your Instagram and be like, 6 reasons to buy my thing. And then the next day, 6 new reasons to buy my... People wouldn't follow you on Instagram. You don't do it anymore. People are consuming your emails on their phone the same way. Don't do it by email either.
Oh, that's so funny. There's an interesting parallel there with, this show is not the hugest podcast out there, but it has gotten to the point where people are starting to pitch me. And I can immediately tell people that have actually listened to the show and want to come on because they dig what the vibe is about versus people that are just blanket pitching just like they would with these spray and pray people that we're talking about. And I have a blanket response that I send to those people. I'm like, this show is not X ways to Y or Z. There are plenty of marketing podcasts for that. I want to hear about the times that you fucked up, that you fell on your face, that you learned something really weird and cool, and like what really gets you jazzed up about this to keep going beyond all the struggles. And the people that reply back after I tell them that, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're definitely coming on the show. You sound like fun. Yeah. Oh, man. So tell me, I know that we talked a little bit before we started recording about there was a point that you got to in your business where it seemed like all hope was lost. Do you want to go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, so we didn't start off with Email Marketing Heroes, actually. So we basically had this idea for a piece of software 8 years ago, something like that, right?
Well, no.
Was it? Oh, yeah, it will be more than that right now. And the idea for this bit of software, which we launched and have still, so we had this. We came up with a name. It was called Response Suite. It's great. What the idea was we wanted a piece of software which was a survey tool, but which integrated with your email marketing platforms, so that you could, depending on people chose and the answers to their survey, you would tag them differently and segment them differently and send them to different thank you pages after, depending on what they said. Like basically, surveys that had marketing superpowers, essentially, right? So we were like, this is good. Everybody needs this, because the reason we came up with it was because we were hoping that the big survey platform in the market was going to do those things, and they don't. So we hired a full-time developer. Bear in mind, Rob and I have never had a job. So we've never been in a job interview. We've never been employed. We've certainly never been employers either. So I remember we sat down with our developer, who will become our developer. And we sat in the same room, and it was the first interview. And we said, right then, how's this supposed to go? Because we didn't know how to do an interview, how to be employers or anything like that. So anyway, we did that. And then we hired a content marketing person, and we had this office, and, we're paying a few thousand a month to have this office space. We're paying over 10 grand a month in the wage bill alone, like all of this stuff. And we're putting our personal money into it. Like we don't have investors, like everything's like our money that we've earned from doing these gigs, from Rob being a hypnotist, me being a mentalist. So we're putting our personal money into it. And we got to a point, I think it was in like September or October of 2019. So not that long ago, 2018 or 2019, something like that, right? And not that long ago. And we had both run out of money. We were like, we put all of our savings, everything we worked for, being away from our families to earn, all that stuff that we'd saved up. And we put it all into this business. And we just couldn't get the customers in. We couldn't break even. We were still plowing money in. So I remember it was the first Monday of the October. And Rob and I had been on the phone all Sunday saying, we don't have the money to pay these two lovely people at the end of October. And because it's a tiny team and we spend 5 days a week together, we're like a family. Like the fact that they're paying their mortgages, their car payments, their children for university, all this stuff, because of what we pay them, we take that really, really seriously. Mm-hmm. So we decided, like, we took advice from friends, and they said, you can't tell the staff because they'll get demotivated. You have to just keep going. We were like, I can't do that. We can't do that. So we sat with them on the first Monday in October, and we said, and we were absolutely, gutted. We were completely upset, and it was awful. We hadn't slept very well. I was on the phone to Rob like till late, and we said, look, we felt like we failed. Like we've tried so many different ways of doing this. We just can't pay the wages. So at the end of this month, there is a really good chance you'll work all month and we won't be able to pay you. We won't be able to stand up to our side of the bargain. You'll do your work and we won't be able to pay you. We're not comfortable with you working and not knowing that. So you've got a choice. You can leave right now, not do the work. We totally understand. Go find a job. Or you can stay. And if you stay, it's just another plan, like all the other plans we've had. But here's another plan. This is what we think. If anything is going to fix this, this is what we think will fix it. But we also understand if you want to leave. Mm-hmm. And amazingly, for some insane reason, these two lunatics decided to stay and said, no, this sounds good. And I was like, it sounds shit. Like, well, it doesn't sound good at all. But okay, let's be in this crap together. So, and that's when we decided to really look at what we're really passionate about. What have we got experience in doing? And that is teaching people stuff. Because we'd been helping other entertainers to do their email marketing. Can we help other people after we'd done some keynotes and stuff? So that's when we founded Email Marketing Heroes, and a membership, our email marketing show podcast, everything that we do has been born out of that. And now it's just this incredible movement of people wanting to fix email marketing the world over.
And it was partly a reverse engineering of, we've got this piece of software and we literally said, we don't want to like start a new business for the sake of just saving the business. We want to figure out how to also make the software work, because we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point into making it work. And so hundreds of thousands of pounds, that's even more. So what we decided we would do is we would really focus on that. And so what we did was we said, well, who's the people who might buy the software? And we said, people who do email marketing, because that's sort of who it's built for. That's why we built it for ourselves to do. And then we thought, great, well, in that case, let's create stuff that we can use to acquire those customers, not lose a fortune. We were good at selling courses. We'd sold courses to entertainers before. We were like, cool, we can sell courses. We'll do that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really creative and innovative solution to something that a lot of people would be tempted to be like, well, I've sunk hundreds of thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of dollars into this, and I haven't been able to make it work. So clearly that's a sign that this is a failure. Like, I really like the fact that you went, okay, so who would buy this? How do we pivot this so that we're attracting those people and it's kind of natural instead of uphill? Somebody that I work with that you guys both know, Chris Orzakowski, in one of our training programs, we talk to people about uphill battles versus downhill battles. And like, we try to structure all of our client relationships and advisory situations to where we're fighting downhill battles, because that's easy and it still gets a lot of wins, and it's a hell of a lot harder than fighting uphill.
And I think it's a really interesting idea, because I think everybody has a point with one of their products or one of their services, part of their offer, which you go, it's really good. It does a great job of what it's supposed to do. I just can't get people to buy it. So what they do is they go and they come up with another thing which they think will be easier to sell. But the problem is you just created yourself a new business, basically, having to sell that product or service. Instead, what we did is we said, how do we make a business which will much more quickly pay itself, allow us to eventually get paid, get some of the money back out that we've invested, but also tease up a perfect market to buy the thing we want them to buy. So we end up with a business called Email Marketing Heroes, which helps all these businesses, which is great. And we know they're also the perfect prospects for the other thing. So we don't have to end up starting a new business and feel like you're starting over and over again. All we're doing is moving slightly more towards the market, up the funnel, in an earlier stage of awareness, or however you want to think of it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fantastic. And I was writing notes during when you were speaking, because I thought you said so many things that were great that I wanted to circle back to. Like, first of all, the whole idea that you can't tell the staff when there's something hard going on. Like, I think that that's a perfect parallel to these people that really aren't doing their research and they're doing the spray and pray. They don't give a damn. They're in it for themselves and growing their own business. And that shows. And I think, your approach to this is the perfect, nobody likes having hard conversations. Huh. It's not so, like
I'm all hard conversations.
Yeah. Nobody likes having them. I'm particularly skilled at doing them in a way that winds up being win-win, but that's not something that I enjoy, getting up and being like, "Ooh, whose heart can I break today?"
And it only leads to a harder conversation a little bit further down the line when you say, all that work you've just done, I can't pay you for that. I mean,
yeah. Well, and then that trust is broken too, because you had the contract and you chose not to have the conversation so that you could get more out of them, right? That's like self-driven, but you guys turned it around and got them in your corner on the crazy decision. Like you were saying, like, this is nuts. This is not actually, why are you doing this? I gave you an out.
You say yes, sit down, think about it.
I'm giving you an out. Why aren't you running screaming for the hills? But I think that's like giving somebody a choice and showing that you trust them and you value them enough to just be straight with them and let them make their own choice. Like, wow, that's incredible.
One of the things we have in the whole business is this policy of radical transparency, which is everybody in the business knows exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, what the numbers are. Like, everybody knows pretty much everything. And that means you don't end up, we're a tiny, tiny business, obviously, right? But like, you get into these large corporations and somebody who's like working so far away from the C-suite or the large part of the organization, like the chief execs and board and all that sort of malarkey. And they all go, I'm working really hard just to fill those people's pockets. But actually, if they just understood how a business works, why you're doing the things, and they can all get on the train and drive the train with you. If you get everybody on board, that's the whole thing. Like, your customers. Like, we talk to our members. We have a membership called the League of Email Marketing Heroes, right? And one of the things we talk about is, look, our job is absolutely, we're quoting somebody else, but our job is to extract as much money as possible from you. That's our job as a business, but we can only do it if we give you more value than we take.
Yep.
That's the game. And because we're like, our whole thing is about demystifying, DBSing email marketing, making it not that scammy stuff. Because people find out, okay, we teach psychology-driven email marketing. We're not about manipulative email marketing. We're about giving people the choices and helping them make choices by going, well, that's the thing I want to do. Well, that's the thing I don't want to do. So there is a huge difference between psychology and manipulation. You definitely don't want to be doing manipulation, because what happens? You get caught out. You can't look at yourself in the mirror. You can't sleep at night. You feel terrible. That's not why you got into business in the first place. You got into business to do your thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I've long thought that my job, especially in marketing, has been, okay, to find good products that I think will help people, and then find the people that I think need this thing, and then just put them together and see what happens. I've never bought into the whole high pressure, artificial scarcity. You've got to show them that this is the thing and there's only a limited time. Act now. I get urgency and scarcity as a sales tactic, but if it's going to be here next year, the next 15 years, I'm not going to tell them you'll never have another opportunity like this again.
Yeah.
I was actually one of the better closers on one of the teams that I worked for, because this person would launch a training course every year consistently. And it was usually like $2,000 to join. And there were people that weren't at that level and they weren't quite ready. And that's a really big, risky investment. And I would tell them, well, we've been doing this for 15 years. Barring some major catastrophe, it's reasonable to assume that this is going to be here next year. And now you know what it's about and how much it costs. So if you're still around and still interested next year and you've managed to save up the money, we'll be happy to have you. Otherwise, we're not going to take the rent out of your out of your pocket. We're not going to take the food out of your mouth. Yeah. We'll be here when you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's about. It's about giving people those choices. Like, we actively say, like, if you need to put this on a credit card to afford it, do not join the program. Do not thing. Like, that's not what we're about, helping people do more. And I think we should all be about that, really.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you brought up, like, the whole point of business is to make money. I started a business to make money. I don't think there's anything wrong with making money. I don't think there's anything wrong with telling the clients, I'm here to get as much money out of you as possible. I'm only going to do that if you feel comfortable with the amount that I've given you in return for that money. I love that you said that.
And it all just has to fit into your personality, So some of the stuff, we're quite brash, loud, in your face people. And some people like that. Some people don't, we're going to make jokes and use innuendos and swear. And if they're not okay with that, that's fine. That's not a problem. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean we're right and they're wrong. Could be the other way around. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just about, having customers, and our customers love us for taking as much money off them as possible because of that arrangement. And, I think it's cool.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned value, because I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the early stage, get hung up on too, this idea of value. And a lot of people equate it only to sales. Like, I can only charge you X amounts of money if I can deliver you Y amounts of money. But would you say that there are a lot of other ways to deliver value? Yeah.
I mean, remember that the reason that people think that, hey, I can charge you 10,000 if I can make you 20,000 for the sake of argument, is because that's a pain point that you're solving. But like, all we do is buy stuff that solves pain points. Like, my TV was absolutely driving me crazy. So I was sick of every time I pressed the button, it was like, hey, I can't find an internet connection. I was ready to throw it out the window. So I had a pain point. So I go to the nearest electrical shop and I go, hey, I'll have that TV, and I might spend £1,000 on a TV or whatever. But did it make me more money? No, but it solved a problem. It made me less frustrated. It removed a pain. It made me feel good, because buying stuff feels nice, doesn't it? I mean, you're in Las Vegas right now. That's the absolute capital of spending money, because it feels lovely, right? So,
oh yeah,
what you do helps people in some way, and there is an amount of money that some people will pay to feel that, or to relieve that pain, or whatever it is. So if you're a therapist, then someone might have a pain of some description. If you're a creative person, their pain point might be they're embarrassed of their website, or their brand looks like they made it up in the 90s, or we're all solving problems, and some people are solving monetary problems. But you'd be surprised at how few times we talk about, even though we sell email marketing and we talk about email marketing, we don't, as often as you might think, talk about, oh, and we'll make you this amount of money back. Actually, because what else do people want? Even from a B2B, sales-driven, ROI-focused activity like email, well, actually, we don't talk about sales as much as you might think. So you don't need to either. We'll talk about things like making sure people aren't falling through the cracks, making sure everyone gets a great experience, making sure you know where everybody is. You're not in a mess. Your email marketing doesn't look like spaghetti junction. Make it like all of these things. Are you giving value? Do you feel good? Do you get replies to your emails from people telling you how much they love them? Like all these much more emotional things. Because if you just say, hey, I'm going to make you 30 grand next month, well, actually, that's not emotional, and people buy based on emotions, don't they? I'm really annoyed at my TV. I'll buy a new TV. So instead of, actually, the worst thing we could say is, hey, I'm going to make you 30 grand next month. What you can say is, you'll be making sales. You could be making sales with your email marketing while you're taking your kids for a walk along the beach, or you're flying off to Las Vegas and living remotely, or you're doing these things, and people go, oh, that's what I'm buying. I'm going to spend X amount per month with Robin Kennedy's The League membership because I want to go to Las Vegas. I'm buying that for that. And that's all this is. We buy chocolate bars because they taste yummy. And then obviously there's regret later.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love this idea of value, because it actually took somebody pointing it out to me when I was in the early stage of my entrepreneur journey, that like, it's not about that, and especially the money. because it's hard to prove that when you're in early stages that you can generate some sort of return if you're in a marketing or sales environment. But refocusing on like, what pain point do you solve? What do you deliver to them that makes them feel good, that shortcuts a process, that makes the pain go away? Like we were talking right before I hit record about the fact that I'm in the early stages of planning my first live event, and that I just booked a bulldozer and backhoe company because I was looking for weird things to do to kind of lower the resistance and get people just being silly, acting crazy out of the traditional business environment. And so I'm paying them a lot of money to drive bulldozers and backhoes because it's a once in a lifetime experience, and it's ridiculous. And it is about as far from a business event as you can get. And that's valuable to me. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about how we make people feel, isn't it? It's about how we make them feel.
Mm-hmm. I need to send out an email that's got a subject line of ditches and hose, though. I need to.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is fantastic. So, I mean, I imagine after you had the hard conversation with your team about like, look, I can't even guarantee that we can pay you at the end of the month, that it wasn't like an overnight, we pivoted and suddenly like we found the miracle solution that helped us at the end of October. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that journey was like?
Yeah. So what we did was the reason we ended up in this pickle, incidentally, is because we were, I guess, confident enough, falsely, that because we'd spent quite a lot of time selling our services as entertainers using email, and because we'd spent a lot of time selling our courses to entertainers and stuff, that was all going to be the same to sell this piece of software. And that turned out not to be true. So what we did was we did this reverse engineering thing of, well, how do we solve the problem? And so what we decided to do was, well, first of all, we acted really fast. Because there's no time to do anything else. So like, I think this conversation happened, and by the Friday of that week, we had the plan more or less in place. And a few things we did was, first of all, we used stuff that we already had. So we actually pulled together a product that was a collection of email campaigns for like a live event and for a flash sale and for stuff like a webinar and things like that. We pulled them together into a little product that ended up being called the Email Marketer's Game Plan. And we pulled it together not by creating it to sell, but just by pulling stuff off the shelf that we actually used as an internal resource. So it's actually a thing that our team used that we wrote ages ago that said, if you like, here's like the playbook of stuff that you can use, just swipe the campaign and run with it. So the first thing is we used stuff that we mostly already had. We didn't have to create a lot of new stuff in order to get this up and running. Likewise, if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of stuff to use, like our backup to that would have been to sell stuff before we create it. Like, know what we're going to sell, know we're going to teach this class, or we're going to run this event, we're going to do this thing, and sell it first and then deliver it afterwards, which is what we've done a lot since then. So we pulled stuff together very, very quickly. And then we looked at, okay, great. What's the next step to that? The next step is to leverage other people who already have our crowd of people. So we just said, fine, in that case, let's do this whole thing driven by affiliates. We went out, found a bunch of people who had our audience. We said, hey, we've put together this little funnel. It hasn't had a ton of testing. You're just going to have to either go with it or don't. We don't have time for testing. Like done is better than tested. And so we just said, okay, let's have a go. And so that was it. And we ran it. But by the end of that month, we did do two things. There is one thing we omitted from the story earlier on, which is one of the reasons we had this tangle is that we'd also, through some bad accountancy, we'd finished up with a £26,000, so probably like $40,000 tax bill that the tax man wanted. It's a very specific type of tax to do with like national insurance and income tax, that bit for the staff. And they wanted it now. It wasn't like you can pay it off in 12 monthly installments of $2,699 or anything like that. It was like, we want it. This is not a sofa. This is a tax bill. It's like, we want it now. And so, yeah, that was part of the problem. So we did clear the tax bill and pay the staff and pay the office rent and pay everything else by the end of that month. And it was literally just by saying, done is better than perfect. We'll just have to use what we've already got. Or if we didn't have that, the backup, as I said, would have been to sell something first and then leverage the people who've got the audience. So I guess what we do is we look at what the constraints on us were. We look at what what had our hands nailed to the desk. What was the stuff that we just couldn't change? We didn't have an audience, so we can't do anything that requires us to have an audience. We didn't have time to create anything new, so we have to just use the stuff we've got. Like we used to training money. We didn't have any money, so we couldn't buy traffic. Nor did we have the time to like optimize and test and refine traffic purchasing either. And so we just, okay, great. In that case, the only solution is this. A bit like, those little puzzles that used to come on cereal packets where you have like little mouse on one side, little hole on the other side, and the others have got traps and cheese, and you've got to get into the hole. There's only one solution gets you to the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, getting to that end result was our only option. So, we just had to live within the constraints and thrive within the constraints. And that led us to this place where I think it was probably something like maybe $40,000 or something like that in sales that allowed us to like pay everything off, do what we needed to do.
Oh, that's so funny too, because I started that off being like, I imagine you didn't turn it around by the end of the month. And then you did.
No, we were lucky, fortunate, pushed it.
It was lucky. It was luck. And it was just, unfortunately, it was the last chance thing. It was like, this is like when we sat down and said, look, if one thing is going to work, what is the one thing that's going to work? Not like, oh, here's another idea that might work. Here's another idea which might work, which is what we've been doing at that point. It was like, and if you ask yourself this question as you're thinking about your business right now, you just think, if one thing is going to work, what is the thing?
Mm-hmm.
Do that. If you imagine, and I hope to goodness that you're not in this position that we were in, but if your business was like, I need to make the money by this time next month, otherwise I'm out. What's the thing you have to do? What is the thing? The one thing. And you have to just do that thing, and you have to just go all in and keep focused. The problem with most of us is the shiny object. I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to become a TikTok person, and now I'm going to become one of them. And what about that thing? And Clubhouse, is that still a thing? I don't know. Like all these things. You just get distracted. You have to just say, no, this is the thing. And if you can put one or two people around you, maybe a friend, maybe a partner, maybe anything, people in your business, just to not allow yourself to go off track while you wait for things to work. No, if they're not. And the big question to ask, and we ask this on our group coaching calls inside our membership. We talk about this actually on the Email Marketing Show podcast too, which is this question. What are you going to do today that's going to make a sale? Because most people go, oh, I'm going to put some new stuff on Instagram. You go, is it going to make a sale? No. Oh, have you got no money? Yes. What do you need to be doing then? I need to be making sales. Great. What are you doing that makes sales? Nothing. I think that's a problem then.
Oh gosh, that's one of my big frustrations too with a lot of folks that I'm dealing with. I was talking with a group that I coach with yesterday, and we were talking about how to get people in that group some better results. And I was like, I think we need to challenge the mindset here, because right now we've got a lot of folks in the group that are thinking A is for studying all of the modules and doing all of the exercise. And I was like, A is for action. Take some fucking action. You get an A when you go out there and you do things. Don't study everything. This isn't school anymore, and I'm not your professor.
Look, let's remember, like Facebook is, and Meta, who are all behind it, is, one of the biggest businesses in the world. How many times do we go on those any of the platforms owned by them and go, it's broken. That thing's not loading. Guess what they're doing? They're busy making money. They're not making a perfect product. They're making sales. They're feeding their families. They're growing as a business. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything that they're doing, but by far, but they're not obsessing over having a perfect product. It looks like shit. It has problems. That thing's gone now. Why is that thing gone?
Mm-hmm.
That bit's broken now. Guess what? It's just progress. It's just progress. It's just taking action.
Yeah. And there was another thing that you mentioned that, there's a certain kind of magic that I think that happens only when your back is against the wall, or at least if you like visualize having your back against the wall, and it's suddenly not about, look at all these options, which one is the best one? It's like, all right, what's the fastest path to solving this problem? What assets do I have? What liabilities do I have? And just going into problem solving mode versus hand wringing mode, like, woe is me.
Like what's easy, not like what's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changes when things are fine. And I don't mean great. I mean, just when things are fine, we're plodding on, we're doing things. That's probably one of the most difficult places to be in business, I think, because you have comfort, enough comfort, not luxury, but like comfort. And then that means that you've got choice. When you've got comfort, it means you've got choice. That means I'm sat in this lovely armchair. There's anything I could have from the kitchen, I can just have. I can just sit and pig out. That's fine. Like, you've got choice, and choice is dangerous. You know, when you're in that, when your back is against the wall, it's uncomfortable, and it's not a place to live, for sure. But you have to try and take some of the mindset stuff that you gain from being in that dangerous place, and use it when you are in a place of comfort, because that's how you progress.
I love that. And I think, you know, if I'm reading between the lines too, part of what made you, really dig into that and go into problem solving mode was that you had high stakes, right? There are these two people in the relationships. It is a lot about supporting yourself and getting some money out of this thing that you've invested so much in. But now you've got these people that feel like family, like you said, and I don't want to let them down, and they want to keep working with me. How do I solve this problem for all of us?
Right.
And I think there's a point at which you go, well, hey, we can keep putting money into this. That's okay. Well, at one point, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. And then when you realize, hang on, I can't, which means, yes, I can't pay these amazing people, but also that means I'll have failed.
Mm.
Not that I just want to get the money out, because I haven't got the money. I haven't had the money for a long time or whatever, but which is, I mean, terrible, of course, but I have failed. And that doesn't feel very nice.
Oh, no, it never does. And we have, as a society, we have a real big problem with failure. Now, I think that kind of failure that you're talking about is definitely one to avoid at all costs, right? But then there's the little failures that happen on a daily basis that we almost get like super paranoid to avoid and want to do everything right. Like,
I think you can put them in perspective though as well. Like, even that kind of failure, if it had led to that, you could reframe that and go, oh, well, we worked out that doesn't work, and we won't put our money into a business again. And but at the time when there's like the tax man knocking on the door going, give me all this money, and your staff are looking at you going, hey, can you pay me so I can pay my wife and kids and keep the house, the roof over their head? And that's certainly a level of failure that I never want to experience again. But what does it do? Like all of these lessons that you talk about with folks is it makes you a better business later, and you prioritize things differently. And how do you prioritize paying yourself? Like, how bad are we all at that?
mm-hmm.
I think the other adjustment to make is just, I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is go and fail at things every day in a job that I don't like, for somebody I don't like very much. So like the alternative is go and be shit somewhere else. I might as well be shit doing the thing I want to do, that if it all works out, I'm going to have a much better outcome, rather than, because I think there's a myth that entrepreneurs and business owners tell ourselves that if we just went and got a job, and I say just, and I don't mean that in the derogatory sense, but if we just went and got a job stacking the shelves in the local supermarket, that we don't fail. Well, of course you fail. You still crash your car into a tree. You still, your kid's naughty and you handle it wrong. Like, you still fail everywhere else, and you don't get the promotion you go for. Like, stuff happens, shit happens, whether you've got your own business or whether you're working in somebody else's business. So like, I'd much rather be failing here than failing over there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a big difference in failure in the approach too, because if you're playing not to lose versus playing to win, like, there are very different results that come from each of those strategies. And to be clear, when I say like playing not to lose, I'm talking about like, okay, I've only got this amount of stuff and I'm just going to be a dragon guarding what I've already got, instead of being out there fighting for even more. Like,
yeah, and I think we used to very much see it as you can be one or the other. You can be like, guard what you've got, or you can be risking what you've got. And actually, I don't think you need to be. This was a limiting belief I definitely had until I think only like over a year ago. I think we all need to like have that stable place of the business is making this, I'm making this, great, and then I have this amount, this budget, this amount of time. I'm not just talking about monetary wise. I'm talking about time. I'm talking about effort, attention, all these different things that I am going to risk. So you don't take your entire income and go to the roulette table at the Mirage. That would be insane. But you might take a portion. You might take some money, which you can afford to lose. And that's the big important thing. The bit you can afford to lose. And that's what you spin the risk in the new business on roulette wheel. You don't risk the whole thing. So how much do you need to pay yourself? Pay yourself it. Do it. Take it out of the business. It's not in the business doing anything, is it? No. Take it out. Put some profit over there. Put some things for your taxes over there. Put your expenses there. Good. What's left? Okay, good. Lovely. What am I going to invest that in? What's going to be? What am I going to play with within that? So I think we don't necessarily have to think we're either risking it or we're saving it. I think we can be doing both of those things, but without actually having risk.
Yeah, I love that. You have thoughts on that, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where when we had no money in the business and we had to solve that problem that keeps coming up, when we had to solve that problem we talked about before, we did it without any money. And so I think this idea of, again, if you pay yourself first and put some aside to taxes and all the rest of it, when you have got some cash coming in and business is okay, like if we could save our problem and dig ourselves out of that massive hole without any cash, that means you can continue to do what you're doing without any cash, and therefore prioritize yourself and your family and the stuff that you need to do, and then you're in a much happier place. So yeah, I think our story and our struggle is evidence of the fact that actually just because the money's there doesn't mean you've got to spend it on something to grow the business. Like,
oh, I love that. And that is like the perfect note to end on. So tell us more about Email Marketing Heroes and your coaching group. I want to make sure that they have clickable links so that they can check you out.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, first thing is, if you like podcasts, which I think you do,
yes,
because you listen to this one, right? If you want to hear Rob and I talk about email marketing in a reverent, quite offensive manner every single week, go and listen to the Email Marketing Show wherever you get your podcast from. I will warn you, it has the single most annoying jingle music in the world of podcasting. It's called the Email Marketing Show. You'll see why. So there's that bit. There's also, if you want to really dial up your email marketing, right? If you want to make it better, make it easier, one of the things we've all got to do is we've got to get more people to click on the links in our emails. If they're not clicking the links, they can't buy anything. Mm-hmm. Right? It's impossible. But getting people to click the links in your emails can be tricky. That's why we thought we'd put together a little gift for all of your listeners. So if you go to emailmarketingheroes.com/kick, emailmarketingheroes.com/kick, you'll be able to download our book, which is about the 12 different ways you can dress up your links to get more clicks from the very next email you send. We call it click tricks because we're good at email marketing, but not very good at naming things. So it's called click tricks. Go to emailmarketingheroes.com/kick and you'll be able to download that for free. It won't cost you a thing.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for being on the show. I would say my experiment with having two people on talking at the same time was a massive success.
I think you rocked it.
This is a fantastic conversation. Again, I'm going to make sure that they have clickable links in the show notes. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
So that is it. Another awesome episode of Permission to Kick Ass on the books. If you want to know more about the show, if you want to know more about me, Angie Coley, and the mission I'm on to help entrepreneurs punch fear in the face and do big, bold things, then head on over to permissiontokickass.com. That is all one word together, permissiontokickass.com. Make sure to sign up for my email list so that you know whenever there's a hot, fresh, and ready podcast episode out for you. And also on Mondays, I like to send out a little newsletter called Kick Monday's Ass. I'm sure you're totally surprised by that. So thank you for being here with me today. I'm Angie Coley. Make sure that you share this with a friend that needs to hear this message today. Like it, share it, comment wherever you're listening to this today, and let's go kick some ass.